This is a message to the politicians of New Zealand in regards to education. Imagine this, a 5-year-old girl in her first year of primary school, full of life and joy, walking into class one day, a smile plastered on her face. She's excited about a day full of learning. Now imagine her teacher starts lecturing them about small cute birds, seals and polar bears dying because of the heat, because of global warming, because of them. Their faces turn pale. They look like they've seen something sinister. They feel a gut-wrenching wave of guilt and anxiety. Some start crying, others go dark. Their teacher tells them to make posters to save the innocent creatures, which they do out of guilt. The teacher goes away at the end of the day feeling like a good person, like they have just changed the world. And they have, but not for the better. That little girl, she goes home and she cries. She feels so bad. And 10 years down the line, after her head has been filled with stories such as the ones taught to her that day, after she has been told it's all their fault, after she's been led to believe they are all going to die in flames, she gets anxious, so anxious that she has a panic attack in the bathroom stall that day after school. She spends ages hating herself and the people around her for hurting this beautiful world. She lashes out. She gets angry when people don't agree with her, because to her, someone disagreeing with her reality, that's dangerous. She feels threatened. That is what is happening every day, everywhere, and will continue happening if we don't change the curriculum. I am someone who is not ignorant of education in New Zealand. By age 12, I had been to 9 different schools: public, private, high decile, low decile, rural, city-based, online, in-person, primaries, intermediate, and a high school. The one thing in common with them all: politics. Hi, I'm Saraya Visser, and allow me to introduce you to our future, sponsored by the education system. Now, before we go any further, let's define the word indoctrination. In the simplest terms, indoctrination means teaching someone to accept a set of beliefs without questioning them, which is precisely what is happening in schools. Here's why. Up and down the country, every single day, no matter the age, the same things are being taught. Whether you're 5 or 15, it's no different. Climate change, gender politics, racial politics, the UN, and heaps more. The way this becomes indoctrination is because subjects like those are not introduced as ideas. They are introduced as stone, hard facts, which you aren't allowed to question. For people like myself, who raise their hand and offer the counter-argument, we get shut down immediately, the teachers not allowing any other opinions or sides to be shared. Sometimes a teacher might use your peers to rip your argument apart unjustly, or they'll laugh at you. I was at a school last year where we had a class called Global Citizenship. The teacher was pushing a very clear agenda. Now, I did not agree with that agenda and frequently raised my hand to offer my opinion. Each time, she'd smirk, maybe laugh a little, and as soon as I had finished speaking, she would directly tell my classmates to respond to me, picking the ones with the most different, loudest opinions. The teachers summoned them to attack, to which they completely made fun of and crushed my point of views, turning me into a lesson for anyone else in that class contemplating testing their ideology. That's not teaching, that's indoctrinating. It's not just at that school either. The same sort of thing has happened to me a number of different times at a number of different schools. Now that we have indoctrination defined, let's move on to the consequences of indoctrinating children in large quantities. For those who are oblivious to the fact they are being indoctrinated, 3 things happen. They A. become highly anxious, B. they don't know how to think for themselves, and C. become tribalistic. Let's break that down. Starting with A, they are filled with anxiety from age 5, and that anxiety grows more and more over their school life. Why? Because children are pumped with negative so-called facts about the world without any reassurance or positive counters. Just last year, in a different school, I was sitting at the mat with my classmates when the teacher started dramatically going off on one about climate change. I thought I had stepped into a scene from a horror movie because as I looked around my class, most of my classmates looked completely horrified for their lives. Their faces were pale and their eyes widened. The rest of them looked like they were going to burst into tears. You cannot tell me that's not going to make them anxious. To us, we know we aren't going to die, but these are children we're talking about. They don't know any better. B. When you teach kids what to think, you stop teaching them how to think, and they become echoes to your voice, like a massive hollow cave only repeating after you. Once people stop thinking critically, they become reactionary. When someone says something they've been taught is bad, they react badly, sometimes with harsh words, but more often than not these days with violence, which can get rather out of hand. My brother has said, based on the things he has learnt in school, that if he were Maori, he would absolutely hate white people. Is that something they intend to do? If so, that would be malicious and destructive to our culture. Or do they not? In which case it's still equally as destructive, but they should really evaluate themselves. C. Once they become reactionary and only follow what they have been told, they become tribalistic because any other thought is dangerous and foreign to the things they know, so it turns into an us versus them type of situation. For children like myself, if you even say one thing that could be deemed as wrong, you are exiled from the group. It starts off where no one wants to sit with you at lunch. Then you find it hard to join in a game, and before you know it, you are alone. You become a victim to the system. You either sit down and shut up, or you keep standing and take that lonesomeness with pride. I took the latter, but I know many people who have come up to me after class to say they wish they could be so brave. It's ironic that children are afraid to speak again. I thought we left that in the past. If we've figured this out by the age of 12, then there really is quite a big problem. The reason this happens is because teachers are on moral high horses and find it their duty to share with their students all of the political injustices in the world. In Year 5, I was taught a story, Helen Helps Out, about a father who sexually assaults his daughter in graphic detail. It made me feel sick to the stomach. My legs started shaking afterwards. That feeling did not end until the weekend. It was truly upsetting. That is sexual politics, getting into 9-year-olds' heads that their fathers are dangerous. When we were 7, me and my class were forced to write letters to a logging company complaining. When I protested, I got bullied by my teacher into submitting, which is social activism training, turning us into social justice warriors. Earlier this year, my teacher was teaching us a one-sided version of New Zealand history, so I said I did not want to participate in propaganda, and I got pulled out of the class and ironically got asked if I had been indoctrinated. One of my teachers explained how everyone's over here and I'm all the way over there. At every single school I've been to, there has been catastrophized versions of climate change, horrifying children, which is an adult problem, and like I stated earlier, anxiety-inducing. When my brother was in Year 5, his class was taught how there are as many genders as one would want, and that one day there would be a world where gender doesn't exist anymore, which is gender politics, promoting what some could argue a mental disorder. One of the main problems with teaching kids things that aren't facts and of which society is still debating, and teaching kids false truths, is that it becomes problematic and dangerous for our society, especially when you don't offer the counter-argument and don't allow other opinions. You probably decided to become a politician because you wanted to make, I hope, a positive impact on the world. There is no better way to do that than to fix how and what we teach our offspring, the ones that are next to try and make a change. Your allies and your enemies know that. So now I ask for your help to act on this urgent issue that has not been talked about enough. I'm so passionate about learning, but the state of the education system is saddening. All I ask is a step towards change. If changing the curriculum is too difficult, may we at least teach children how to think critically instead of following the herd? Because at the moment, we aren't teaching them how to think, not even what to think, but we are teaching them not to think. Education is supposed to help you grow into who you are supposed to be, not tell you who to vote for the next election. If you don't think this is serious, then you are not serious.